Story time, guys. Once upon a time, there lived a man in a small village. His name is Elias. He was a humble farmer known for his kindness, but also for his absent minded nature. Despite his best effort, he always seemed to find himself in a strange situation. His life was simple. He worked the land, tended to his animal, and kept to himself. But of course, he had one flaw. He had never been able to make good decisions when it comes to relationship. One fateful spring evening when Elias was walking along the edge of a forest, he stumbled upon a sight that made his heart skip a beat. There, coiled around a tree, was a snake, but this was no ordinary snake. She had scars that smiled like silver in the moonlight and eyes that glowed with unnatural, captivating light. Alia stood frozen, mesmerized by the creature's beauty. As she watched, the snake spoke in a soft, melodic voice. "Good evening, kind sir," she said, her voice like a wind chime in the breeze. "I am Lyra, a being of the forest. I have been watching you for some time and I have come to ask for your help." Elias blinked in surprise. Snakes didn't talk, and yet here was this one speaking with an elegancy that was hard to ignore. "What do you need?" Elias asked, still uncertain whether he was dreaming. "I am cursed," Lila explained. "Long ago, I was a woman like any other, but I was tricked and turned into this form by a jealous sorcerer. To break the curse, I need someone brave enough to marry me, despite my true nature." Elias, intrigued and perhaps a little too naive, listened intently as Lyra told him of the sorcerer's curse and the condition for breaking it. She promised him that she would reward him handsomely, granting him riches, wealth, and health and happiness in return for his act of kindness. Now, Elias wasn't a fool. He knew that marrying a snake seemed absurd, but he also knew that he had always felt lonely, and Lyra's soft word and the smearing scales made her seem less like a monster and more like a misunderstood creature. He was enchanted by her charm, even though a small voice in the back of his mind whispered that this was a mistake. But the idea of breaking a curse, of being the hero in some grand story, appealed to him deeply. Against his better judgment, Elias agreed to marry Lyra. The next full moon, in a small secret ceremony deep in the wood, he stood before her and spoke vows, pledging his love and devotion. In return, Lyra shed her snake form before his very eyes, transforming into a woman. She was beautiful, her long silver hair streamed in the moonlight, and her eyes, though still glowing faintly, now had an overworldly depth to them. Elias felt his heart swelled with a mixture of awe and love, his doubts vanishing in the face of such magic. But as with most things that seemed too good to be true, things began to unravel shortly after the wedding. At first, their life together was blissful. Elias and Lyra lived in a cottage near the forest, and she kept to herself most of the time, weaving strange and beautiful things from plants and flowers. Elias worked the farm and tried his best to be a good husband. Yet it wasn't long before Elias began to notice more unsettling things. Lyra's appetite was peculiar. She consumed vast quantities of food, meat, fruits, and sometimes strange herbs that Elias didn't recognize. Her behavior grew more erratic with time. She would sometimes disappear into the wood for days, only to return with strange, cryptic stories about her encounter with ancient creatures and spirits. The most troubling change, however, was in Lyra's eyes. As days turned into weeks, her once glowing gaze began to look less like a blessing and more like a curse. Elias would wake up in the middle of the night to find her staring at him with a gaze that sent chills down his spine. And though he tried to dismiss his concern, there were times when he would see her slither silently across the floor like the snake she once was, only to quickly regain her human form and smile at him with an unsettling sweetness. It wasn't long before Elias began to realize that he had made a great mistake. The magic that had turned Lyra into a woman had not truly freed her. She was still a snake at heart, and the curse that bound her had not been broken. Instead, she had tricked him into marrying her to gain a powerful ally, a human husband who could help her fulfill an ancient desire to return to her original serpentine form and reign over the forest as a queen of beasts. One evening, Elias could no longer ignore the truth. He overheard Lyra speaking to an old, shadowy figure in the woods, her voice dripping with malice. The figure, an ancient sorcerer, revealed that the curse could never be truly broken. Lyra's transformation had always been temporary, and now that she had married a human, she was bound to return to her true form, more powerful than before. Heartbroken and betrayed, Elias knew he had to act quickly. The woman he loved, who had seemed so kind and magical, was not what she appeared to be. She had used him to escape the curse, and now she would cast him aside. With his heart heavy, Elias made a decision. One stormy night, as Lyra stumbled beside him, Elias slipped quietly from their bed and ventured deep into the forest. There, he sought the counsel of an old hermit, hermit known to possess ancient knowledge about curses. The hermit listened patiently and then gave Elias a single piece of advice. To break the curse, you must confront the snake within her heart, not the one in her skin. With newfound resolve, Elias returned to his cottage and prepared for the confrontation. He knew what he had to do, though it broke his heart. He went to Lyra and spoke the truth. How he had been deceived, how she had betrayed him, and how he could no longer stay in a marriage built on lies. As he spoke, Lyra's form began to shift. Her human appearance dissolved, and her snake-like form returned in full. Her once beautiful face now held a sneer, and her eyes glowed with the fire of anger. But Elias stood firm. "I love you," he said, "but I was never meant to be your prison. I will not be part of your curse." In that moment, the curse weakened by Elias' resolve shattered. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath. With a final mournful hiss, Lyra vanished into the night, returning to her true self, but no longer able to bind herself to any human. Elias returned to the village, wiser for his experiences. He had made a mistake, yes, but in the end, he had found the strength to correct it. He spent the rest of his days working the land, helping his neighbors, and never forgetting the lesson he had learned. That true love could not be forget from deception, no matter how magical the circumstances. And though he never forgot Lyra, the beautiful snake woman who had once captured his heart, he knew that some mistake once made could never be undone, but they could be overcome. Thank you so much for always watching my videos. I hope you learn a lot from this story. Please pray before you choose a woman. Do not be captivated by what you see, because not all that glitters are gold. Thank you so much. I love you guys. Please do well to subscribe to my channel if you're yet to subscribe, and share this story. Give my video a thumbs up. Bye.